We're here with Kenneth Timmerman right after the event here in Stoughton. Ken, how was the event? How did you like your reception?
Well, it was a good audience here, and a very informed audience. I was impressed at how much people knew about Iran, about the threat from Iran, about electromagnetic pulse, and the threats to America.
Now, you talked a lot about the 12th Imam. Now, is the following of the, for use of a better word, the cult of the 12th Imam primarily an Iranian issue because of the government, or is this something that exists throughout Islam?
Well, it does exist throughout Islam, but the cult of the 12th Imam as an end times eschatology, in other words, bringing about the end of the world, that is specifically Shiite and Iranian regime ideology.
Now, one of the things that always fascinates me about how our response to radical Islam is that the left, who would normally, you would think, be the most threatened by radical Islam because of the positions on gays, for example, or the positions on promiscuity, etc., is the most likely to protect and support Islam. Is there any particular reason why, or why do you think that is the case?
It's a very good question, and I think that's a very important question to answer. There is an alliance between hard left organizations and the Muslim Brotherhood front groups that we see in the United States, such as the Council on American Islamic Relations and many others who are named as unindicted co-conspirators in the Holy Land Foundation funding trial. Now, why do these groups join together with the Muslim Brotherhood? I think that in the end they have a similar end game. They would like, both of them, to subvert the Constitution of the United States of America. On the part of the Muslim groups, they would like to see Sharia law become the law of the land. And many of the leaders of these groups have said so, that they would like to see Sharia law replace the United States Constitution. And I think on the left, you have this blame America first mindset, which is very prevalent, and they do not see the threat to themselves. I think in their own mind, they're saying, well, once we destroy America as it exists today, as a racist, sexist, imperialist nation, then we can fight it out with the Muslim groups over who will run the thing.
Considering that we had the violent murder of a Christian for having a crucifix in Egypt just a couple of days ago, and the bombing of a satirical newspaper in France both by Islamic radicals, do you see any prospect of Europe and the rest of the world awakening to the threat of radical Islam, since it keeps giving examples of reasons to worry about it?
Yes, I do, actually, and I think you're seeing in France, for example, with the rise and the popularity of Marine Le Pen, who's the daughter of Jean-Marie Le Pen, the National Front, which is it's called a far-right organization here, but I think as Marine Le Pen herself, I just met with her when she was in Washington yesterday, becomes better known, people are going to see that she's actually a fairly mainstream conservative politician. She's not an anti-Semite as her father was. She, in fact, she was trying to get to the Holocaust Museum yesterday, and they couldn't give her a proper tour. And she has talked about the need for Israel to be able to live within secure borders with its neighbors. So she has broken with the anti-Semitic ideology of her father, and her movement, I think, you will see standing up increasingly to the radical Muslims in France.
One of the things that I think about, but we don't really hear a lot of talk about, is with the rise in strength and the demographics of Islamists in France and England, both nuclear powers, how great is the threat in a generation or two of a British Islamic bomb or a French Islamic bomb? Or is that too far down the road to worry about?
Too far down the road for me to worry about. I tend to think that the French, at least, the Brits I'm not so sure, but the French are going to push back before then. And I think the Muslims in France are torn between those who are born in France and who feel an allegiance to France and those who feel no allegiance whatsoever. There is an increasing radicalization of the Muslim ghettos outside of Paris, and these are predominantly self-enforced ghettos, Muslims who live in Muslim communities. And I think at a certain point the French are going to put their foot down and say enough.
I've often, being a person of Sicilian descent, my grandparents came from Sicily about 105 years ago, I've often looked at the way radical Islamists create a hold on Islam in an area, the way the Mafia would create a hold on an Italian area, where you want it to be part of, you support your own, even if, we're thugs and we're thugs. Would that be a fair way of describing the relationship between radical Islamists and other Muslims in the United States and elsewhere in Europe?
Yeah, with a significant difference is that radical Islam is an ideology. The Mafia is a question of money and patronage and loyalty, but it's not an ideology.
Where will people be seeing you next?
I will be at what's the name of this? On the 11th of November, on Veterans Day, I'll be in Nashville, Tennessee, with the Conference on Sharia Law. It's obviously a conference to oppose the imposition of Sharia law in the United States. And now, of course, the name of the conference escapes me, but it's pretty well known. There's a cast of thousands. Robert Spencer will be there.
Pam Geller?
I don't think that she's coming now. I think she's pulled out, but Spencer will be there. Frank Gaffney will be there, and a cast of thousands.
And where can people find out more about you?
KennTimmerman.com. It's my personal website, KennTimmerman.com, or my foundation, the Foundation for Democracy in Iran, which is Iran.org.
Oh, one last thing. Could you show us your book that you were selling tonight, in case people want to order it? I presume it's on Amazon and such.
It's on Amazon, and it's at my website, KennTimmerman.com.
St. Peter's Bones.
St. Peter's Bones. It's a fiction about the Iraq War, told by an Iraqi Christian interpreter working for U.S. Special Forces. Many Americans don't realize how many Iraqi Christians actually sacrificed their lives to help us to liberate their country. And their history, the history of the Assyrian Christians, the Chaldean Christians in Iraq, is an amazing story we just don't know enough about. So I tried to tell it. They still speak Aramaic, the language of Jesus.
So they watch The Passion without the captions?
They watch The Passion without the captions, exactly correct.
All right, well, thank you very much for your